Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Christy Taylor, and I am so excited after a fabulous virtual vision board party. I'm excited to have our first official podcast episode for 2024, and we have the fabulous Jill Lublin here. And she has 25 years of experience in the world of publicity, management, and networking. And as a career coach, I think that it is so important that we understand what is the difference between public relations and publicity. And even when we're marketing our businesses as entrepreneurs. So I'm so excited. So Jill, will you take a moment to introduce yourself to the audience and tell us how you got started and your passion for this type of work?
Absolutely. Well, I'm so glad to be here with you, Christy. Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet. I actually started my career in the music business, funny enough, in the world of publicity, because in the music business, guess what? You learn how to promote yourself, and it's all about perception. And then I went on to have a public relations agency, and now I'm helping entrepreneurs, small business owners get their word out and increase visibility without spending a fortune through my virtual publicity boot camps. And I've written 4 books, including the book on publicity called Guerrilla Publicity, and my latest is The Profit of Kindness. And to that end, I run those virtual publicity boot camps and conscious kindness circles. So super fun. We get it done.
Well, I want to start with, I definitely want to circle back to the concept of kindness, because I think of so many things that happen in the business world. But one of the first things that I heard you say was you started in the music industry, and to make this thing work in terms of being an entrepreneur, or even if we're in corporate America, right? We have to know how to network. We have to know how to sell ourselves. We have to make connections. And so, let's start there. Where did this great passion from to train other people to be able to build this type of network and publicity come from? And then I also kind of just want to know, can you just tell the audience, just stress how important that is, right? Building those networks and the concept of publicity.
Sure. Well, the truth is, if nobody knows about you, how can you be seen, heard, and paid, right? Publicity drives prospects and leads to you, gets you seen, gets you heard, and gets you paid and gets you clients. That's always good.
Yes.
And it's really a one-to-many strategy, because it's supporting you to be magnified and monetized and multiplied, because you can reach more people at once. That's powerful.
Well, here's the thing. We are often taught that we need to be humble, right? Don't brag about yourself. Don't, and I think having an expert like you speaking with us today is so important, because can you really just tell us the difference? Sometimes, when we're running businesses, when we are out here and we're doing this networking, we take that be humble to heart, and we fail to really speak up, sell ourselves. And just like you say, we can miss opportunities just simply by failing to speak up. So what is your perspective on that, Jill?
Well, I say it's time to get over it, because, I wish my mama was, in front of me saying, wow, she's so great, look at her. But the truth is, you are all responsible for promoting yourself. And, the reality is, I see it as giving your gift to the world. Like, reframe how you think of this and see it as giving your great gift to the world, who you are, what you do, how you help people. It's a contribution. And that's what's powerful. And by being timid or not promoting and speaking up and speaking out, well, the reality is, how can people know of you, see you, and get connected to you? So I think it's really a key to stand up, speak out, and you can do it in a way that fits with your personality. There's all kinds of ways to create a great and powerful message. You don't have to be rah. If you're not that kind of personality, that's fine. Listen, I work with accountants and bankers and real estate people and people in very different industries all over the place. And so I've seen it all in terms of personality. And whether you're extroverted or introverted, there is a message for you. And your message is what brings you forth to talk to the media in a great way.
So I want to distinguish 2 things, right? So one, Well, I got to ask you, based on the title of today's episode, is first of all, what is the difference between public relations and publicity? And then I'm going to go back to something that you said a little bit earlier about, selling yourself. So what is the big difference between, the concept of public relations and publicity?
You mean what's the difference you're saying?
Yes, what is the difference?
Oh, so guess what? It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Publicity is PR is publicity. It's one's just shortened for public relations. It's the same thing. It means getting your name out there, being an authority, creating buzz, and having people connect to you because you become trusted. You are the trusted authority, and that's really important.
The big thing here is just now I have to build on that question because I once had somebody to say when it comes to business that there's also a difference between public relations and marketing or publicity and marketing. What is your perspective on that?
So think of marketing like a tree. Okay, then there are branches. Publicity is a branch of that tree and a very important one. I mean, most companies, bigger companies you've heard of and you love their brands, they're spending about 10%, actually it's 10% and more of their budget on publicity very specifically. So, marketing encompasses advertising and other things that we don't need to talk about right now, but publicity is the piece that's free, that drives those eyeballs and ears and viewers toward you as you're on TV, radio, media, podcasts like we're on right now, right? Great way to get started for most of you is get on a podcast. They're wonderful. People need you as guests, and you probably have some good information that you can share with everybody's listeners.
So I'm going to circle back around to, the typical questions that I would ask as a career coach about publicity and networking, just as a individual in the day-to-day job market. But a lot of your expertise is really focused on supporting businesses. And I can tell you as a business owner, it gets overwhelming, right? Because I feel that I have to spend a bunch of money on marketing and publicity because it really is important to get, my name out there, right? And so what is the advice that you give to people? You run the virtual publicity boot camp. And what is some foundational advice that you give to people who are struggling in this arena, who feel overwhelmed by it, especially as entrepreneurs?
Well, number one, let's do some things, right? Everything I do is really oriented toward easy, simple ways to get your name out there. Like, let me give you one. And we do all this in the boot camp. We're working on your message and your bio and creating visibility strategies and actually getting things done. Yes. One of the things you can do that's easy and simple is go to Google Alerts and put in your name. So Christy Taylor, right? Because you want to know if the media is talking about you. And then Christy using you as an example. I also want you to put in one word like careers, right? That you can see when the media is talking about careers. And as a career coach, you can then comment. You can see when the media is talking about your specific subject. And that makes a big difference.
Right. Because when we talk about backlinks and SEO and building credibility, right? And that's the name of the game. Whether you are pursuing a traditional route of working, guys, and even I would tell you if you're coming to me as a career coach, right, that you have to know how to pitch yourself and sell yourself to that employer. And then for those of us who own businesses, we have to know how to pitch and sell ourselves to the client. And just like a resume to that employer is going to serve as your credibility statement, right? Your initial impression. People want to see, if you're a business owner, people want to see you build these connections and they want to know that you have that credibility. Now, Jill, you mentioned that you wrote 4 books. So let's start with that first book. And, it seems like, in your opinion, do your books, and feel free to flash those books and show us. Do the books build on each other? Or they are about, is it like, should I read one and then I continue building kind of like a staircase, or are the books about different topics? So,
well, I'm going to recommend everybody get, for sure, Guerrilla Publicity. I mean, that's a real key for a core and a foundation. And, it's easy to get through JillLublin.com. I'll take you right to Amazon through my website. And guess what? This is filled with very simple strategies to get your name out there and do the visibility. Third edition, updated, all about podcasts, blogs, and all kinds of other fun things. And definitely do that. And then as far as my latest book, I'm going to recommend, because I want to spread kindness all around the world, get The Profit of Kindness.
Okay.
And yeah. And, here's the good thing, Christy, is kind companies get great publicity. And then come to my kindness circles and put it in the show notes. It's completely free, jilllublin.com/kindness circles. Be great to have you all.
I really want to talk about this kindness, because we, the bottom line is that the world is competitive, right? And we often feel like, it's a dog eat dog world. People feel like it's, competing, I'm competing for something, and sometimes I have to move people out of the way. But, talk about that concept of kindness, because it plays into publicity, but it also just plays into just being a good person and reaping what you sow, right? Because putting those good things out there in the universe, we get that back. So, I think one of the really unique things about you, Jill, is that your focus is not just on the publicity piece, but you are incorporating this concept of kindness into the work. And so, how did we get here? What inspired you to make that transition and combine it with the work that you're doing as a publicist?
It was one of God's happy accidents, and it's listening to the whispers. I actually was caring for my 82-year-old friend in her aging journey, and she actually said some words to me about being very what would happen if we all were kind? We could have the currency of kindness. And that is actually what sparked a wonderful book, The Profit of Kindness. And my publisher said, yes, we want it. It came out really fast. And then I started these kindness circles, and we also celebrate World Kindness Day together in a big summit in November. But we do monthly kindness circles, and I just open them up completely free. I just want to really spread this message. And, the reality is, Christy, as I really looked at the distinction among companies getting great publicity, guess what? I discovered kind companies get more publicity. And I'm watching this word in the I'll call it the lexicon, in the public domain, and I'm watching companies use kindness in their marketing. Like Honda, the car company, just did a major car campaign, advertising campaign, using kindness. Kleenex has used kindness. I mean, I saw one of the biggest healthcare companies with a bus campaign called the Human Kindness Campaign. Now that just tells me right there, right here, what's going on, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, people really want to connect, and as an everyday business owner, I would say that they say you attract more.
Can't hear you. Sorry.
Can you hear me now?
I can't hear you.
They often say that as a business owner, that you attract more people when you focus on kindness. Just a moment, we're having some technical.
I'll go out and try again.
Okay, so we are here talking to Jill Lublin, and she specializes in public relations. Now, as a career coach, one of the things that I always tell you is that you need to have a pitch. You need to have, you need to be able to sell yourself to that employer within the first 30 to 60 seconds. You need to be able to tell them your name, what you do, how you do it, and how you have achieved the results. So we had a little technical difficulties, but Jill is back.
I'm back.
All right. So we were talking about that concept of kindness and how it's been playing into large businesses and marketing. I was sitting on a coaching call because as a coach, I hired a coach to help me. And we were talking about this same concept. And my amazing coach, one of the things that she does is she gives everybody an initial 30 minutes. So I said to her, I said, well, if people are coming to you and you're giving them 30 minutes, how do you profit from that? She was like, because my goal right then is not to necessarily to turn them into a client, but it's to answer their question, right? And just by the way that I'm giving them a quality experience. But she was like, all I have is that 30 minutes free because I start the countdown once we get on the phone. But it just kind of thinks about like she's building that reputation of being that kind person who is an expert in her field, who's providing valuable information and valuable services. And so when I think about what you're doing as a publicist and how you're combining those concepts, you really are teaching people you're not only making a bigger difference in the world, but you are also teaching people the art of reaping and sowing, right? Which,
absolutely.
Yes,
I mean, really
is.
Yeah. And as a business person, I mean, listen, you want to give people great value. You want to give people wonderful experiences, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what I don't want you doing is giving away everything. And believe me, I work with a lot of coaches, and one of the things I've seen is sometimes that giving spirit is so wonderful, and for all of us, we always want to be that yes and. You deserve to be paid. You deserve to get your message heard far and wide. That's why I love publicity. It's one of those fabulous, simple strategies that actually really bring people to you, and that's powerful.
Now, publicity is the art of storytelling, right? It is the art of being able to connect and pitch yourself. That's the foundation of it. So in your experience, I have a question for you in terms of how important is storytelling, and is there a general methodology that you use for effective publicity campaigns? But just the basic art of storytelling, if you could give my viewers advice on, it starts there, right? So what advice do you have in terms of creating effective stories that can serve as a foundation for publicity?
So one of the things I would tell you, I'm not concerned about you being a great storyteller. Listen, that can be taught. So
Mm-hmm.
I want to teach you and give you a simple formula. One of the things I actually do in my virtual boot camp is actually work on that message. That's really the story that you're talking about. And so here's a great formula for putting together a strong and powerful message. And that is, the problem today is, and then fill in the blank. Like, what's the issue out there? In your case, it might be people getting really good work, loving what they do, right?
Yeah.
And of course, with the quiet quitting and all the great resignation, all the things for you, this has been really a wonderful time, perhaps, for you to go out and speak in media about how do you get a job once you quit your other one, like kind of fun stuff, right? And that's the issue today. So one of the things I'd really have you all look at is, what's the problem out there? With regard to what you do, what's the problem out there? I didn't ask you what you do. And then give people 3 solutions. Keep it simple, keep it in 5-year-old language, and make your language easy to understand.
Now, I'm going to transition towards the end of this episode to some just general questions, but I want to know more about your publicity boot camp, right? And if a person who has no experience or background with marketing, publicity, those pieces, what if I were to take your boot camp, what would that experience be like? What could I expect to learn?
Oh, well, it's so wonderful because we're going to do the message, your bio, elements of your publicity that you actually need for the media to say yes. And speaking of media, you know what else? Media is going to actually be there, like real people, real media, listening to your pitches, and then giving the people in the boot camp the right things to say in the right order, what works and what's not to say in today's world. So they're going to tell you what works. They're actually right there, and you get to pitch them. Woohoo! That's exciting. And actually hear what works. So it's very powerful, very interactive. I have lots of breakout sessions, and people really get their publicity done. And well, big ahas about, what works and what's simple and powerful.
Wow. I mean, so again, I've gotten a couple of jewels from you today, just on a few strategies that I could use because again, we go into this and it can be really overwhelming from a business standpoint. But one of the things that I just noticed, Jill, when I'm listening to you speak, is that I should call myself the career publicity coach, because so much of the work that you're doing as career coaches and coaches in general, right? When we're helping clients I'm like, okay, me writing a resume, me doing this for a client, it seems like it's all the same, but of course they're pitching themselves to employers, whereas your clients are pitching to media. Now, is there a particular, can anybody register for your class, or is there a particular specific group that you specialize in working with, or a particular
Oh,
industry?
no, honestly, all kinds of industries come to this, all kinds of people in multiple kinds of businesses. And I am more a generalist because I want to give you the right ways to use publicity, no matter what business you're in, that works right now in this time and actually get you real results, real sales, and real prospects.
And so what do you think makes like what you do so different from other publicity coaches, besides the fact that you have over 25 years of experience in this industry and it's pretty diverse?
Yeah, well, I've been doing it. So I'm doing the doing. And I think what I do is make it really simple and easy to actually get your publicity done, to do it yourself in simple ways instead of hiring a $5,000 a month PR firm. I mean, you can do that, but that gets real expensive. And I'm going to give you ways to get this done simply, easily, and effectively.
So you've been doing this for a while. And so looking back over your career, let's say, when we talk about small budgets, and you don't have to say the name of the organization or whatever company you work with, but do you have an example of like a successful campaign that you were able to work with a company on that, that you felt like was a true success? Can you tell us a story behind that?
Yeah, for instance, listen, there was a gentleman, Ryan. He runs an instructional design company. Now, to be honest, Christy, I didn't even know what that was. Ryan, Ryan had heard me, actually, I think on a podcast. He said, Jill, I really want to work with you. I'm like, great, Ryan, what do you do? He told me he's an instructional designer. And I remember thinking, I have no idea what that is. See, people got to understand what you do. And I said, Ryan, no offense, that's not interesting enough. Tell me your story. See, talk about story. He told me his story. It was interesting. He'd been downsized from a corporate job. He had a wife who was pregnant at that time with their third child. And he had just, really, did I say fired, right? Just bought a big house in Northern California. I'm like, uh-oh, you got a pregnant wife, a big mortgage, and no job. So what we did was we recreated him into a virtual office warrior. And the and the acronym for that is VOW, Virtual Office Warrior. And Ryan took a vow never to work in an office again. Here's what's interesting. Do you know that the Business Times in San Francisco Business Times, put him on the front page? And you know what the headline said? Instructional designer vows never to work in an office again. They actually used the headline and they talked about, having freedom and flexibility and a new career. And they made it really beautiful. Now, isn't that exciting? I have to tell you, we made this into a story. That's why I'm saying, don't be concerned about you got the story down or you don't. It's okay, my friends. What you got to do is take the first step. Let's see what works. This worked. This for 9 months worked. Not only did he get in Entrepreneur Magazine, Home Office Computing, Mac Home Journal. Ryan laughed because he goes, Jill, I don't even have a Mac. It doesn't matter. He got in Entrepreneur. I mentioned that. He got in the front page, like I mentioned to you, of the San Francisco Business Times. This actual PR campaign literally increased his revenues by 42%. And one thing I told him to do about using everything you've got, because I'm really big on that, he's Asian American. We got him in the Chinese Times. He got a $7,000 engagement from one article in the Chinese Times. Now, I'd say that's good publicity.
That is amazing. And this is where I see the difference here, right? Because so much of the career coaching piece posts is to tell your story, because you got to do that 60-second pitch when you walked in. I tell you, I would have never thought, when you use the word vow and you connect that with an instructional designer, because that's my lane in terms of the education instructional design piece, I would have never made that connection. But it just shows how amazing your ability is, right? To be able to pick out that thing that's going to make that person stand out. And that's the distinction, guys. When we talk about, okay, as individuals who are job seekers, yes, you want to stand out. but that's your solid resume. That's your pitch. That's your 60-second. But when it comes to publicity and being in the headlines, because you don't want to go into a job going, I vow to never work, right? You don't want to go to the
Right.
interview. But when you're dealing with the media and the public, you have to have something that's professional, that's distinctive, that helps you to stand out. So here we have an instructional designer that's on the cover of Entrepreneur magazine. That's being, well, that's amazing, Jill.
Thank you so much.
Great story.
Thank you so much.
When you work with your clients, do you tailor? I mean, is your approach, kind of the same for each? Because you work with different industries. Is the approach?
No,
the
it's
same
very
for each
different.
client?
No way. Each person is different, customized, depends on who you need to reach and the right audience. And, we figure that out. People really in their own box. So part of what I provide is really pulling out from you the most important parts and zooming in on what will really get you the media you deserve. And frankly, what will drive the best publicity to you. So I got a few, quite a few strategies for that. One of which you heard, use everything you've got. That's a big one, and people forget it. I know we're coming up to the end here, but
yeah, and I have one more question to ask, and then I want to definitely have you to pitch. So if you are listening in on this podcast today, Jill has given us some true gems, and I think one of the biggest things that use everything you got. We're going to make sure that we promote that in social media over and over again. She gave some great tips. And then just being able to distinguish, where does it venture off? If I'm an employee, yes, I have to sell myself, but that's a different route. If I'm dealing with the media, that's a different route. And that's where an expert like Jill comes in. So my last question to you, Jill, is, you can have good press and you can have bad press. How important is it as an entrepreneur or a person who, needs those media connections to maintain those strong relationships? And can good press really be, can bad press really be good? Or is, because some people say, well, all press is good press.
Yeah. And Christy, honestly, I'm not worried about bad press for most of the people we're talking about. The entrepreneurs I've worked with over many years, I've never seen bad press. And sometimes I will have them be somewhat controversial and come in with a different opinion. But what I know is, listen, the press doesn't want to make most of you are wonderful, extraordinary people. They don't want you to be looking bad. They want you to look good. So don't be concerned about that. The focus for you as a business person is your best message, your foot forward, and most importantly, taking a step in publicity and making a baby step, creating continuous visibility, building activities. And Christy, I want to give people a free gift that gives them even more publicity tips.
We are approaching the end of this podcast episode, but we definitely want you to be able to connect with Jill. Continue on. We'll be promoting for the rest of the month and in our newsletter. So Jill, where can people reach you if they want to connect with you? And then what are free gifts? Because she's coming with gifts and we just finished with Christmas.
Yeah, absolutely. There's always time for more gifts, right? So listen, I've given you hopefully some good publicity, food for thought, and I created a free gift, which is an action guide and my free publicity masterclass. So imagine this, being in a room with me on Zoom virtually. You can ask me questions. I'm going to deliver to you great publicity tips. It's part of the free gift, as well as an action guide filled with even more publicity tips. So you go to publicitycrashcourse.com/free gift. That'll bring you to me. That'll bring you into the opportunity to really be together and ask what you need to ask. And I look forward to serving you.
Well, Jill, this has been a very exciting first episode for the new year. You have probably solved about 3 or 4 world problems in this discussion on publicity. We've learned about kindness today and the importance of, even as business owners or professionals, kindness, right? Kindness makes a difference, being kind with each other. The distinction between publicity, public relations, and marketing. And if you are a business owner feeling overwhelmed, you can just, as Jill would say, start where you are and use everything you got. Pick a concept and roll with it. So I encourage you to take advantage of her class and the free downloads that she has, and feel free to reach out and connect with her. We have posted her information in the chat. It is also available in the description area for any of the social media posts that we have provided related to today's podcast. So Jill, it has been a great pleasure to interview you today. Thank you for being our very first episode of the new year. And I know great things are coming. And I just want to say thank you. And I look forward to connecting with you again in the future.
Thank you, Dr. Christy. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.